Hello. It's July 5th. 4th of July. I'll tell you what, we watched we were looking on the internet and it said that the Boca Hotel was not going to have fireworks. So we went on the 5th level of our building looking wet fireworks. That was neat because it sounded like, gunfire from over the hill and down the yard and and then all of a sudden there was a couple of blasts. Then we see this big reflection of the buildings. I said, oh my God, the hotel's doing it. So we ran over to the elevator and got down the corridor and went into our balcony on the 8th floor. And the fireworks display was just spectacular. God, those bombs go up. You almost look at your glass windows to see if the shockwave is going to blow the glass out. It was powerful. You can imagine what these people are going through in the war zones or near it, in Ukraine and God, terrible. But that's the way it goes. All right, I got my soundboard set up. You can hear me, that's for sure. So I was watching a couple of, it's amazing what you can see and learn on the internet these days. I mean, it's just unlimited amount of knowledge and, stuff that's going on. You notice I'm stretching these boards because it's, there's so much reflective light off these panels. We just come over this way and everything is black behind my iPad. Yeah. And if we want to, and of course we add the iPad. Oops, gotta switch sides. I like to be on the right side. Pardon the expression. You can see my controls over here. Yeah. These control the volume into my headphones so I can hear myself talk. God, it was big. Texas floods. 24 dead and 23 kids missing in this flood. I'm looking at over here. My Lord, what is going on? Must be global warming. What do you think? The ice is melting. The waters are rising. Good Lord. You can see, looking over this way. Delayed broadcast, of course. Yeah, that's, 23 kids missing. That's, missing is not a good sign. That usually means forget it. Yeah, it's Texas. It's not, Swami. How can there be a flood? How can there be something that's so fast? Given weather reports and advanced warnings and, what is the matter with our society, people, the television channels, the early warning detection systems, whatever, to have 23 adults dead, 24 dead and 23 kids missing. In theory, that could be 67 dead. You think some kid is hanging onto a tree branch? I don't know, I hope so. But Caryville, Texas. Cary, Kerry, Caryville, Texas. Helicopters are flying all over, looking for signs of life. You know, they have, infrared sensors. Like at nighttime, they can fly over, these areas. They map out a grid and they go this way and this way and this way. And they, can pretty much find people. Well, Trump. We watched Trump watch the fireworks. Yeah. And he signed the big beautiful bill, whatever they call it, huge bill. Finances the Golden Dome, finances all kinds of things. 40 or 50 billion to finish the wall, finally. Not only for his administration, but for future administrations. Get it all done, and this, work like, you can hire lots of people and you can manufacture what's necessary when you're, creating the materials. So the wall, you can go on YouTube and, do a fast search, wall, Trump's wall, construction progress, and it is quite spectacular. I wonder if we can see it. We may not hear it. Let's do a search. Trump. All right, let's see what happens. Forget Biden's wall. It's not Biden's wall. Who are you kidding? Okay. Let's see if there's anything video-wise. Oops, I don't know what that is. No, forget that. Let's go images. I'm trying to get you some wall. Alright, well, there's a picture. These rods that are going down there. Yeah, we're gonna continue without Twitter. We lost Twitter on our. This is a simulcast on three social networks at the same time. I don't know if you knew that. And the handle. In other words, you can search. You can use your search facilities. You go right into YouTube and you type in FAU for you. See that? In big red or black letters. FAU for you. That's it. And, you know, there are like 400 of them. This is the Saturday of the July version. And basically, the beautiful big deal is approved by the Senate, approved by the House, and signed by the President into law. That means it is into law. Yeah, it's law. So now they have funding vehicles to immediately get going on the wall, finish the wall. That's for all presidents in the future. You know, it's kind of like a funnel. You know, you have a funnel, and it's easy to pour, you know, into the mouth of a small bottle with a funnel. So that way, you know, everything that's going on funnels into a gate, and through which that gate, there will be border guards that can, you know, supervise anybody that's, you know, I mean, it could be an American citizen trying to crawl back over the border. He has papers, you check him in, he gets in the country, you know, through one of the gates. And, you know, you have a gate every, you know, 10 miles, or I don't know how often they have a gate. But they're, you know, they're closed, basically. And they're, you know, it's a big, you know, it's a huge construction project. You know, I mean, this is serious business, this wall construction. And you can see the cement down there. We'll come back here to this, where they dig out the foundation. Look at that. They have a trench, you know, a trench machine that digs out, you know, and all the ground is not flat. So, gosh, this is like torture. Ouch. Ooh. Oh. Boom Boom doesn't want me to look at that. Everybody's got their hand out, you know. Well, you can see the picture. You see it over here on the left. I mean, you know, it's a 30-foot high wall. You know, all the ground is not necessarily flat. So they lift sections of the. Let's see. Let me touch that. We'll have to go into some kind of video. Watch. Oh boy. Okay, we're flying over. This is all construction material. We have like 1,200 miles of wall. They have like 400 or 500 miles to go to get it all finished, you know, with gates and everything. It's a big job. I mean, they dig out It must go 8 feet underground with a trench that looks like it's 24 inches, 24, 28 inches wide. Reinforced iron. They fill it up with, 10,000 psi concrete. The steel beams aren't going anywhere. Now you can have the scumbags try to cut it, but there's all kinds of electric sensors and everything, and there'd be border guards all over the place. So they're right up and down, patrol. You're adding 400 or 500 border patrol people, 400 or 500 ICE agents. So rapid deport, and ICE might become border wall, once they get their job done, or once, after about 3.5 years after most of the scumbags have been that jump the border get pulled back out. Yeah. You're just looking through the clipboard slideshow here, and Brian Kohlberger pleads guilty to everything to avoid death penalty in Idaho, state of Idaho. Transportation Security, TSA, Transportation Security Administration. It's a part of Homeland Security. Yeah. I don't know what the warning is. We'll have to dig into that. I tell you, iPads are unbelievable. Yeah, they really are. So here's where it goes through the slideshow. Now I just flip it to the left. That brings up this whole array. Then you touch the rectangle in the upper left corner, and that brings you to all the stories. They're coming up, but they're not coming up super fast, which means our internet connection is, it's a streaming connection, right? But it's not streaming so fast. TSMC, that's a big manufacturing, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. Let's commit that to memory. TSMC reportedly is accelerating its investments in Arizona chip complex. Yeah. There are great global tax advantages, that Trump has in his big, beautiful deal. It's like 15% flat. And, instead of 20, 30, 40%, 50%, 15%. It makes us extremely competitive in the world. So you're going to attract a lot of investment into the United States because this is like permanent tax law. I think Trump tried to make this all permanent. we have, we have to read the bill in detail, as civilians. We have. Once we can ask the question now, once the bill is part of the public record. So, we found there you go. Review. Ancient alphabet that might prove the biblical Exodus. The Greek news source has told us. There it is. According to the Bible, the ancient Israelites left Egypt. Yeah. In a mass exodus to get away from the brutality that faced them. So they marched across the sand. Yeah, I think that's how legend goes. Yep. Okay. That's what's amazing about this flipboard. Let's go to Diddy here, because he was convicted of 2 counts. Expert reveals Diddy faces long prison sentence due to hint from judge. The former prosecutor has warned that Sean Diddy Combs will likely face a lengthy prison sentence after beating his top sex crimes charges. And he got no bail. Maybe that's the hint. Yeah, this is. I don't know if that's the hint or not. But Diddy. Yeah, they're all screaming and jumping up and down. It's like he got exonerated for everything. He's a scumbag. Eesh. With cases and cases of baby oil. So they can slip and slide in there. Ugh. Disgusting. The wealthy. They say he might almost be a billionaire. That's disgusting too. A billion is 1,000 millions, just in case you weren't sure. A dog dies of heat stroke after riding with owners in an air-conditioned SUV. All right, how does that happen? Oh gosh. You gotta watch TV. I don't want to watch TV. Heat stroke despite air conditioning. Hot summer day. Maybe he was in the back of the SUV where there aren't any air conditioning vents. But still, in an air-conditioned SUV, you'd think it said it could be 10, 15, or 20 degrees hotter. Well, if it's 75, 20 degrees plus 75 is 95, 80, 70, 80, 90 degrees. That's not enough to kill a dog. I mean, gee whiz. AC must be on the coldest settings. Jeez. I tell you what, our Tesla gets very cold. As a matter of fact, we got it set on 68. We got to turn down the fan speed so we don't freeze our little bupkis off. And the vents in the rear blow. Serious. The engineers in these cars are really, that's just very well thought out. There's no shortcutting in the engineer. I'm an engineer by, I could be an engineer of any subject. Mechanical engineer, chemical engineer, biological, not so much. Although I was a pre-med student. But, I've been taking things apart since I'm like 10 years old. Yeah, well, the kids are playing out front, ball and bat, the glove, and you hit it down the street. I'd be in the basement on the first level. It was all finished off. My father had it all finished off with knotty pine. Had a nice pine smell, but it was a dense pine with knot holes all over the place. Not necessarily holes, but nutty. Where the branches came out of the pine trees, there was like a discoloration. Where the branches would attach itself to the trunk of the tree. So when you slice that up into planks of wood, that end up being cut and nailed and into the walls and the doors. Our doors were 3 inches thick. When you shut that door, you had a good hardware package on there, and you could run up and crash into that door and you just bounce off it. The doors in this place, it's almost like one step above cardboard. Really, they're about as thin as they can be, but it's a door. It closes visually, so you can't see through it. Nope, can't see through it. You can hear a little bit through it, but you can't see through it. It's a door, by definition. Why were the Texas floods so severe? Let's press that one. There's the reader view. Why the Texas floods were so severe. All right. Come on. Give us a hint. The flooding rains in around Kerr County. Okay. 10 to 15 inches of rain on Friday morning. In an area west of Austin, northwest of San Antonio. In an area that receives 28 inches of rain a year. So the whole yearly rainfall happened in a couple of hours. Instead of 4 months, it was 4 hours. And if there's an undulation in the elevation, like hills, they say at least 1.8 trillion gallons of water fell over this Texas county. Friday morning. Yeah, the flooding damage, is catastrophic. And the rain's still falling. Down here in Florida, we're flat. Pretty much flat. So, you have to have stormwater drain, and we got 70 inches. We get 3 times the amount of rain they get. And our stormwater drainage system works very nice around this building. When you get up around 20th Street, which is like 22, because we're like 2 blocks south of Palmetto. So 20th Street is 20 blocks north of Palmetto. Now that part of Federal Highway is actually, gets flooded out. I mean, with 2 feet of water, 1.5 foot of water, because the street was just not brought up to the same grade as it is, a mile south and a mile north of it. It's just like a dip. And the same thing with Dixie Highway going south of where we are. There's a railroad track that runs right alongside the Dixie Highway. And if you're going south on Dixie Highway, train tracks are over to the right, and you can see you're riding down on the road, and the railroad tracks are, because they don't go up and down. I mean, those steel wheels on steel railroad tracks, and they're all, rocked in and graded and vibrated and compacted, and, because those railroad tracks have to be perfectly aligned at all times. And, they're not allowed to go, down. It has to be level. I don't know what permitted tolerance is for going up or down, but it can't be more than 1 inch per mile. Maybe a 1/2 inch in a mile. Half of 1 degree, not 6 degrees. Anyway, all right. So they had 1/3 of their rain in 4 hours. Their annual amounts of rain, and everything just, all the water started coming together, and whoosh, it whisked away all these people. 24 adults and 23 kids. They're not calling the kids dead, they're calling them missing. So until further notice, Trump is saying there's a 10% tariff on every damn thing coming in. Unless, or more, depending on what deals we made with countries. 10% on everything, and we're going to, make deals with. We're making deals every day. That's bringing in over $1 billion, $1 billion in cash every day, balancing out the trade imbalance that we've been suffering with, because the prior administration wouldn't do anything about it. We're trillions behind our import-export countries. All right, the FBI. Oh, there you go. FBI issues social media and messaging warning. Here's what you need to know. These cyber incidents. How do you, what is going on with this warning? So they're not giving you specific messages. They're just saying unsolicited investment advice. Don't touch it. Don't open anything you don't know who they are. Claims from well-known financial advisors offering exclusive stock recommendations. Stay away. Pressure to act quickly. Urgent pitches. Yeah, you're not going to believe this, but I actually got pitched by by somebody on, one of these here's my look at that, happy 4th of July, look at that. Sitting in a boat, save me. Red, white, and blue, there's a flag, happy 4th of July, yeah. For the bulldog community. But anyway, using one of these services that provides, this instant messaging. And I said, this is Elon Musk. Join my club. Costs you $300 to join a club, exclusive community. You get real good access. I said, who is this? He says, this is Elon Musk. So then, they want me to invest. You want the super exclusive club, it costs you $1,000. If you just want to be in the regular club, it's $300. And in this, this guy who says he's Elon Musk, right? And the handle on the, on the, what do you call this, messaging service, had Elon's name in it. He said, this is Elon, what are you talking about? I said, no, it's not. You're pretending to be Elon. Elon's not going to contact me 3 times in an hour, pressuring me to invest $1,000, which is not going to happen. $20, you got a shot. I may take a shot with $20 to get your club card and see what happens. So I finally just blocked them. I deleted the thread and blocked them. And I'm sure you might not. All right, so like this message right here is an unsolicited message from, it's an SMS, short message service, a text message. You can see it right there. So the caret that's to the right of this 5-digit number, I'm going to touch it. There it goes. And you see it opens it up. And see where it says info over on the right here, right in the middle? Touch info. And you go to the bottom. This is unblock it. I blocked it. So it should be blocked. Done. Delete. Gone. I shouldn't hear from them anymore. Let's see. Here's the menu. This is the menu that Brendan had to deal with yesterday. From the Royal Palm Yacht Country Club. Yeah, he's doing good. We'll work on that menu, and there's some obvious things you can do to that. You want to have a little, a short. Let's have see if we can find that. There it is. Touch it. All right. The first thing we do we're going to open up the crop tool, and we're going to just rotate this a little bit so the top edge is parallel. Then we're going to go to this tool right here on the right. Let's go full screen so you can see it. There you go. you see on the very right, the middle button. And then we can do this. Look how magical that is. Make all those lines parallel. Do a little pinch. There we go. Come up a little bit there. Come down a little bit there. We don't need all that gray. All right, that's not bad. Let's come back up to the very top one and adjust. Oops. I'm doing it with my thumb, so there we go. And pinch it again. All right. That's not too bad. I'll come back here and do a little mumbo jumbo there. Yeah. Yeah. Over here a little bit. Let's come up here. Yeah, that's pretty good. Come over here a little bit. There we go. Come up here a little bit. All right, now we're going to adjust. We're going to come over here to contrast and turn that up. And that's going to brighten everything up. And yeah, turn the blacks up a little bit. Come up to the very top where it says brilliance. See if what happens with that. Let's expose it a little bit more. It'll brighten it up. This is what happens if you do it too much, too little. And then you can see right here, we get rid of the dingy yellow. There we go. Now we press done. So now we have a menu that we can, looks like we got the full page. This is what they served on Friday from got continental breakfast and they got full lunch. There you go. And let's see how we started as a reminder. Here's how it began. And this is how it ended up. Much better. There we go.
It's 7:45.
Here's our handle. FAU4U. You can look up. This is like sitting down with Jimmy, having coffee at Denny's. You can send me text messages at 561-416-1100. You can call. I'll answer the phone privately. You know, I'll turn the mic off and you can tell me to shut up. This is not right. That's not right. Whatever. Whatever you want. I'm at your beckoning call. Yeah, let's... Yeah, deep blue shirt. Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn up the brilliance a little bit. There we go. Now we got that patch looking pretty good. We'll have to dig into what that warning is. Let me go to Flipboard here. All right, got FBI warning. Let's see if we can find out what's going with the TSA. Transportation flights, oh my God. Traveling these days is risky business. You know, you got all kinds of wackos up there. And, you know, it's a matter of, you know, when's your When's your number up? When do you get, when do you get in trouble just because you happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time? There you go. Robotaxi incidents spark confusion and concerns. Can't imagine. Let's see what that's all about. Whoops, let's get out of here. Gotta touch that right in the middle. There we go. This flipboard is very temperamental. Read a review. Robotaxi incidents. All right, what's that? 2 weeks into Robotaxi prototype rollout means no driver in the driver's seat. It's you have an app. There's a limited number of people that have received an app that they put on their iPhone, and they call for the car, just like you dial up an Uber, but instead of Uber, it's Robotaxi, and the car pulls up with no one in the car, and you get in the car, and you've already given, on the app, where you want to go, so it knows where you want to go. So you get in the car, and on the screen you push the go button, and that you can only push that go button if you fastened your seatbelt. So the 13 incidences, you can see right there, where Tesla appeared to break the rules or otherwise make a mistake. Now, the only thing I saw it do is it didn't pick you up where you were. It picked you up at the address of where you should have been. When you summons your car, it goes to where you are, GPS-wise. Where you are, meaning where your phone is. Assuming your phone is in your hand or in your pocket, right? So I noticed a couple occasions where the car drove over to, the actual front door of the place you were being picked up, like the address of the front door, rather than where you were, GPS-wise, with the phone in your hand. And that's a coding issue. I don't think it technically made a mistake. It's taking it from one official address to another official address. And maybe in the first release, it's only been out 2 weeks, it may not be honing in on the GPS coordinates of your device. So if I'm going to hail a ride from this building, it's going to be at the front door of 101 Plaza Real South. If I'm behind the building, if I went out behind the building, I'd have to go back in the building and come around to the front of the building, because it doesn't follow the phone. It goes from that address, and then of course you place the address of where you want to go, and it should take you to the front door of where you want to go. And apparently it broke the rules. It didn't break the car, it didn't run anybody over. I'm doing a little speed reading here while we're talking. The Tesla is they're going to throw out about 1,500 robotaxis. They're starting out with about 20 vehicles. Yeah. Look at this guy with a Texas hat on. Elon is a complicated person. So these robotaxis that Elon is manufacturing, no steering wheel, no pedals. Nothing. You put in your iPhone where you want to go, and the app knows the official address of where you're departing from, so you must use the front door of the building, even if you'd rather prefer the rear door. With the Uber, you can place the DIT, the crosshairs on where you want to be picked up. You can be in the north end of the building, the south end of the building, or the middle of the building, or across the street from the building. You can set those waypoints instead of just picking you up at the front door of the building, period. So that's how it's starting out. So I'm sure that'll be refined as time goes by. They're trying to keep it as simple as possible, because the actual ride itself is the important part. Let's see, what are we looking for here? We're watching Royals, the series on Netflix called Royals. It is really pretty outrageous what they depict on what could be going on behind the scenes in the palace, the British stuff. It's a lot of fun. It is a hoot, as they say. Elon Musk predicts. This 4th of July sales. It's a big sales day. Trump's economy is strong, but warning signs are flashing. Yeah, I think that's a bunch of fear-mongering. The bill is signed, so the fear-mongering is going to end. And everyone, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. A lot of people are putting in a lot of overtime on the networks, with all these crews that are, news crews dispatched all over the place between the U.S. bombing Iran's nuclear stuff and with what's going on with the U.S. government with the passage of this bill and going through the House and going through the Senate and then coming back to the House because the Senate modified the bill a little too much and triggered the House having to vote it a second time. And it was, I was watching, and, the networks had, people everywhere trying to get information about how these House of Representatives were going to vote. And, between 2, 3, and 4 in the morning, it looked pretty scary. It looked like they had 4 negative votes. And we can't lose 4 votes. The Republicans can't lose 4 votes. That's how thin the margin is. And a tie vote in the House doesn't work. The Vice President cannot come into the House of Representatives and break a tie. The only reason why he can break a tie in the Senate is because the Vice President of the United States, Vance, he's also President of the Senate. the President of the Senate is the Vice President of the United States, and vice versa. They are, the Vice President does not serve. It's in the Constitution. The Vice President does not serve at the pleasure of the President. They can be at war with each other, figuratively speaking. And Trump can't just fire him. He can't say, well, we had enough of you, you got to go. No, that doesn't work that way. The Vice President is, he may not call him in meetings anymore, and he may, he may banish them to the North Pole, and be in charge of funerals and weddings of important people. Or as he's presently favored, he sits in every meeting, and he's getting a hell of an education on how to run the U.S. government, at least Trump-wise. So when you're president of the Senate, and if you have a 50-50 vote of the Senate, you can vote to break the tie. Kamala Harris did it on a couple occasions. Vance just did it for this big, beautiful bill, because it came down to a 50-50 vote in the Senate. Vance broke the tie, so the overall vote was 51 to 50. The motion passes. And then it went back to the House of Representatives. This big, beautiful bill. And there were a couple of jiggles here and there. And not serious ones, just, it's just slightly different. And the House said, well, I don't know, some people rethought it and said, well, if that came back to me, I wouldn't pass that again. Who knows? But there were 4 holdouts. And the president was on the phone with them individually. And the Speaker of the House was on meeting with them individually. And Trump stayed, basically in the White House. He didn't go over to Capitol Hill to stick his nose in there, to have direct meetings with these individually, with these 4 people that were proposed, supposedly a no. And it turned out he had 2 hard no's. So 4 of the no's turned out to be 2 no's. No votes, the NB. There were none of them. Let's see if we can look this up. I think I took a picture of. Let's see. I think I took a picture of the actual. Favorites. Favorites. There we go. Because I marked it as a favorite. Bingo, there it is. So here it's 217 to 212. You see over here the NV, the 1 no vote. He voted yay. So it's 218 to 212. Every single Democrat voted no. Which means they voted, in a sense, the obverse of that is they voted for tax increase. Because if the motion failed, there would be a huge tax increase, like a 65% or something tax increase, hitting all the middle class. The Democrats keep on saying millionaires and billionaires. Well, baloney. This is a tax break for the working man. Not the super wealthy. Part of the super wealthy were touched because they eliminated the death tax, which basically is, if you have a family farm that's been passed down through the generations, and if the owner of the farm passed it to his children, for example, let's say he has 2 or 3 children that are working the farm, and Papa passed away and gave it to the children, they would face a huge tax burden because over a certain limit, it's income, the difference in the value of the farm. Now you get the value of the farm is up, $20 million, and the tax on $20 million is, $5 million, let's say. Where the hell's that coming from? It's not $5 million in the checkbook. So then the lovely couple that inherited the farm runs around trying to find $5 million and can't find it. So what do they have to do? They got to sell the goddamn farm to pay the tax liability. Well, there is no more inheritance tax. It is done away with in this bill. No inheritance tax. That's a big deal. It's huge. Huge. No more inheritance tax. Jeez. I think it was basically everything over 6 million. This is Brendan's microwave. Our boys have a microwave in the kitchen, right on the wall, right on Daniel's wall. And when you close the microwave, and you have to close it with a certain amount of velocity for it to latch, and to latch it slowly, it's painstakingly difficult to latch it slowly so you wouldn't hear it clunk. It's microwaves are a little clunky because there's a microwave transmitter inside the cavity of the microwave. So if you there's our buddy Rush Limbaugh. One more thing, he says. I'm using the same microphone he's using. It's just a black one. Let's add me to the picture again. This microphone right here. It's kind of out of view. There it is. See that right there with the red little doodad? That's so I can find it in the dark. The dark skies here. Yeah, same microphone. Same microphone as Rush Limbaugh. He had 30 million listeners. I have, 30. 300 maybe. Yeah, I got 3,000 friends, but they don't necessarily tune in at the same time. Sometimes they don't tune in at all, What the hey? Let's see, this is some of the New York Post. Let's see, this is Tuesday, June 17th. Tug of war between the Iranian Ayatollah and Netanyahu. Here's a little. President Trump has been thrust into the center of the Israel-Iranian conflict, and each side is pressing him to step in and solve the bloody battle over Tehran's nuclear ambitions. Well, mull this over. Little play on words here from the New York Post. Hey, Ayatollah, mull this over. Trump to Iran. Surrender or face the bunker buster. Well, he said you got 14 days to figure it out. You've had 60 days. And this 14 day, yeah, well, think about it. Well, on day 2 of the 14 days, whoosh, the bombs were dropped. U.S. strikes Iran. This is Sunday, June 22nd. 3 nuke sites totally obliterated. And I can tell you, these centrifuges, you know, where they enhance this uranium, they're very sensitive. They spin at high velocity. You know, the rotational speed is a high velocity, thousands of rotations per minute, tens of thousands, RPM, revolutions per minute. It could be 1,000, 10,000, 15,000 RPM. Very rapid, very sensitive to vibration. If you just unplug them, they like self-disintegrate because the rotational speed is, you got to slow them down real slowly. You can't just pull the plug on them. Well, when the bunker busters hit, the power, the grid of power that was, you know, energizing those centrifuges was immediately cut off. And it was like, you know, 10 times worse than the worst earthquake that ever hit anywhere on Earth. Because the shock wave from those blasts is just, tremendous. So all the equipment, subterranean, would have been obliterated. Now, whether it all collapsed, is in a sense irrelevant. But, it pretty much collapsed, a lot of it. The entryways, the exit ways, the air pipes, things that would, pump in fresh air into those facilities, or the workers would be scrambled eggs because the shock wave would just pop all their capillaries. They just fall to the ground with tremendous internal bleeding because all your blood veins would just pop because the shock wave of the explosion. The place is made out of marble, So it's not like sand that would absorb the shock wave. It's all hard, limestone and marble and granite, I think, is the word they use. Granite is like they polish granite and they put it on countertops. Has a reddish glow to it, when it's polished. So that part of the mountain was made out of granite. Well, you put a bomb like that in close quarters, and it explodes. And within like 4 or 5 seconds later, there's a second one that drills right into the same path that the first one. Remember, these are 30,000-pound bombs traveling at, I think I heard 1,000 feet per second. That's as fast as a muzzle velocity of a bullet coming out of an ACP-45. The muzzle velocity of that is like 1,000 feet per second. So you got something 30,000 pounds. Not 65 grains bullet. We're talking 30,000 pounds. Oh, God. Traveling at 1,100,000 feet per second, crashing into the air vents. And it doesn't matter if they took a left turn or a right turn. It's just that shock wave underneath. Everything's scrambled eggs. Yeah, no. Because that shock wave travels through granite like it would travel through steel, or iron, or not like water, not like sand. Granite, all that shock wave would be transmitted, throughout that whole, everything has anything to do with that mountain that's not granite, like human bodies or, these centrifuges, which are very sensitive. They're filled with, fluid that has uranium dissolved in it. If they did refine it, then you got to take that fluid and drain it out of the centrifuges. And then the residual material, the material that's been refined, that has to be moved over to another, facility that would then, convert it back from a liquid state to a metal, and that takes another whole factory process, relatively long time. All that was above ground at another facility, and that's what the 20 Tomahawk missiles that were launched from a submarine. There were 20 or 22 Tomahawk type missiles traveled 1,000 miles with specific targets and just flattened all the buildings and sub-buildings and structures that had to do with converting the uranium material into a metallic material, because you have to have the refined uranium made into a metal, because the metal is what you make a hemisphere of, and you shove a ball of plutonium in the middle of it, and the spontaneous reaction is so terrific it causes a nuclear explosion with the mushroom clouds and everything. As Trump said, Iran will not have a bomb. And the Mossad will be watching that very closely, and they have spies all over inside of Iran. And they'll be making sure that, they're not commencing activities. Because if they do, either Israel or the United States or both will take it out with stealth bombing. And, Israel has stealth equipment. And they don't have any way to shoot down the planes anyway. So they're going to keep Iran on their knees. Because if they start building up missile defense systems, Mossad will take them out. Israeli jets will take them out. All right, sports fans. We've been yickety-yakking in here for almost an hour and a half. We started early. It's 8:16. You can go up and have breakfast now. I've got some of my most interesting These are all the covers of the New York Post. Yeah, these are the covers from Mow This Over, baby. Even told, says, we know where you are. We can take you out whenever we feel like it. And you can't stop us. Drop a big one on top of your head and you and your buddies will all be scrambled eggs. The reason why they're not doing that is who would replace them? Would the people rise up and form their own government or not? We can't say, we're on your side, because we're kind of not allowed to get involved with nation building. We don't have a good history of doing that correctly. No, I can't tell if this is a before shot or an after shot. I think it's an after. Because these 3 holes have been exacerbated with, I think they threw a couple of those bunker busters in those holes. One hole is where the missiles entered, and then the other 1 or 2 is where, the exhaust of the bombing, the flames came out the other holes. Now the dust has settled, so to speak, and there's a certain amount of that solid rock, granite, a certain amount of that granite has been, I'm not going to say vaporized, let's say modulated, turned into a sandy material instead of a firm material, right, merely surrounding the blast zone. But that's not the killer part of it. It is the incredible, in other words, 12. There were 12 these bunker busters that hit these. There were 14 actually that were dropped. A number of them on this site, and then there were 2 other sites where the bunker busters were busting stuff up. Yep, this is one of them. And we'll see after action reports before and after, and they'll put one over the other, one screen over the other, so you can actually see in real fine detail, what the before and after looks like. So here's a robotaxi right here in view. That's how you get in. Big screen and no pedals, no steering wheel. Drives itself. Just tell it where you want to go. It's all touch screen on there. Yep. Magical. A lot of rubber. That is the robotaxi. Just stuck in the middle there. Okay, sports fans, you all have a good day. And we'll probably do an early morning show tomorrow, Sunday. Internet permitting. It's the only thing that'll keep me from you, is the internet won't cooperate. And sometimes it doesn't. Oftentimes it doesn't. 2 or 3 times a week it doesn't cooperate. We'll do our best. In the meantime, you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.